All right, today we're jumping into a pretty wild story. It's about a 30-year war, but one that wasn't fought with tanks and soldiers. This was a battle waged in secret meetings, in the halls of government, and right out in the public eye. It's the story of the fight for disclosure, told through the lens of one of its most central figures.
So that's a pretty heavy statement, right? The United States chain of command had been decapitated. That's the incredible conclusion the source material comes to after 3 decades of this fight. It's a huge claim. So let's unpack how, according to these documents, they even got there.
Okay, so our story kicks off back in the early 90s. Now, you'd think making peaceful contact with extraterrestrial intelligence would be the big news. But no. The real story, according to this account, is how that attempt triggered an immediate and pretty hostile response from a very powerful and very secret group right here on Earth.
And to really get what's going on, you have to know about this organization, CSETI. It was founded in 1990 by Dr. Stephen Greer, who was an emergency room doctor, not some sci-fi novelist. And his goal was, kind of radical for the time. He wanted to initiate peaceful contact, not just sit around and wait for it.
So, fast forward to March of '92. They have what they call their first major success on a beach in Florida. And we're not talking about 1 or 2 people here. There were 60 participants, including a couple of Air Force pilots, and they all supposedly witnessed and even filmed these craft. But here's the crucial part. It didn't stay secret. A photo hit the front page of the local paper, and that public exposure seems to have changed everything.
And things escalated fast. I mean, just look at this timeline. In March, the contact event goes public. A month later, in April, Dr. Greer is allegedly brought in and threatened by the head of Army intelligence, and then just 1 month after that, in May, they make him an offer. Yeah, $2 billion, with a B. The claim is that a general by the name of Albert Stubblebine made the offer. And the deal was basically, shut down your little peace project, come work with our covert team, and this money is yours. But, the story goes, he turned it down, flat out refused. So after turning down a $2 billion payday, it became pretty clear that just trying to make contact out in the open wasn't going to fly. This meant the strategy had to shift. If you can't work from the outside, you try to go inside. The new plan was to brief the highest levels of government and get them to take control of the situation. This effort got a cool code name, Project Starlight. And just look at the list of people they briefed. We're talking President Clinton, the director of the CIA, top admirals on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I mean, it's a who's who of national security. The assumption was simple. These are the people in charge. Surely they can get some answers. Except, here's where it gets really weird. According to the documents, every single one of these officials, right up to the president himself, came back with the same story. They couldn't get access. They were completely stonewalled and locked out of these programs. One of the most detailed accounts from this period is a private dinner with the CIA director at the time, James Woolsey. The claim is that Woolsey not only admitted that he was being kept in the dark, but he was really disturbed by it. But here's the twist. Years later, Woolsey publicly denied the meeting ever even happened, calling Dr. Greer, and I quote, a damn liar. And this alleged pattern is really the core of the entire argument. The files supposedly detail these meetings, one after another, all pointing to this one unbelievable conclusion. The most powerful figures in our constitutional government were completely out of the loop. And this led them to a key insight, a central thesis. Access to these secrets had nothing to do with your rank. Didn't matter if you were the president, a senator, or the head of the CIA. It was all about your willingness to play ball with an illegal, unsanctioned group that was operating completely outside the law. And the story goes that this pattern went right to the top of the Pentagon. Admiral Tom Wilson, head of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs, gets briefed. He supposedly tries to investigate, gets threatened for his trouble, and is forced to back off. For the disclosure effort, this was basically the final proof that working within the official system was a dead end. So, what do you do when every official door is slammed in your face? Well, the strategy had to change, and it changed in a big way. The new plan was, if you can't convince the people in power, you go around them, and you take your case directly to the public. You can really see the evolution of the strategy here, can't you? It started with Phase 1, peaceful contact. When that was met with hostility, it became Phase 2, internal government briefings. And when those channels failed, it was on to phase 3, just take the whole story public. And that brings us to a pivotal moment, May 9th, 2001, at the National Press Club. This wasn't just theories anymore. They brought out over 20 witnesses. We're talking military officers, intelligence agents, FAA officials, all going on camera using their real names to give public testimony. And the impact was huge. It's estimated that more than 800 million people saw this event around the world. It was a bombshell that took the word disclosure and pushed it right into the mainstream. It suddenly became an issue you just couldn't ignore. Okay, let's jump forward about 15 years to 2017. The documentary Unacknowledged comes out and it creates another massive wave of public interest. But this time, the narrative argues the response from the inside was different. It wasn't about denying everything. It was about something much more sophisticated, controlling the story. And you can really see the two competing narratives here. On one side, you have the original story, ETs are real, they're not hostile, and the US has their technology. But then this new, more official story starts to take shape. Yes, UAPs are real, but we don't know what they are, and they might be a threat. It's a fundamental shift from a story of peaceful contact to one of potential conflict. And all of that brings us right up to today. After decades of failed attempts to work through the system, the source material frames this current moment as urgent, unstable, and maybe even a little dangerous. We're at an inflection point.
I mean, think about what just happened at the end of 2023. There was a major disclosure bill with huge bipartisan support. It sailed through the Senate. It looked like a sure thing. And then, at the last possible second, it was gutted in the House. According to this account, that was the final straw for a lot of people. The political process had failed again.
So why does this matter so much right now? Well, because the claim is that the frustration has reached a boiling point, not just on the outside, but inside these secret programs. And with the political path exhausted, this narrative says there are 3 pretty dramatic scenarios now on the table that don't involve the government at all. And so, after this 30-year journey, through secret meetings, public appeals, and failed laws, the story doesn't end with an answer. It ends with a really powerful question. When the official systems have failed over and over again, what happens when the people holding the biggest secrets in human history decide they've finally waited long enough?